What's up, everybody, and welcome back. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at around this big globe. You're here in our little digital universe here on BitLab Academy YouTube stream. We do this every day, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're kind of changing up a little bit of the format, but because I want to make it way more focused on what's happening in today's market, and then use today's market as a forum to teach different lessons and concepts and plans and strategies that will also clip out and do shorter form content that we can use from this that will release, in a day or two, however many days after. But that way we can see, you can tune in here in the mornings and get your rundown of exactly what's going on in the charts, while I also bridge that gap from beginner to pro to help you understand what the heck it is we're talking about, or what it is other people are talking about when you're on these daily live streams from other YouTubers as well. So you can all understand and feel confident when you dive into the charts. So let me know, everybody, if you can hear me, if you can see me, if all the audio, if all the video, everything's working fine. Of course, I've got this different setup while I'm here in Atlanta at the Hit Network studios with the BitBoy crew, with Around the Blockchain, with Hit Network Gaming, all that. We've got, of course, our own studio here. This is where we're also filming all the content for BitLab Academy. Again, my name, if I haven't said it yet, welcome to the community. Welcome here to the channel. My name is Kelly Kellum. It's a pleasure to be here with you, sharing my years of experience in the markets, trying to help really bridge that gap from beginner to pro so you can understand what the heck it is we're talking about. If this is your first time, or if this is your 1000th time, it doesn't matter. Please hit that like button. Hit that subscribe, ting that bell. It really helps us grow, really helps support the channel. It's the easiest way you can help support what's going on here, being a BitLab insider. So thank you so much for tuning in. So what are we talking about today? Yesterday, we talked about the bull trap, likely signals for bull traps, how to read that. But what I want to do today, because this is ever present in what's happening in the charts right now, I really want to break down, I want to spend more time doing TA here at the beginning of the stream and really walk you through what my strategy is and what other similar strategies are for other successful and experienced traders and investors, how we approach going into. So I didn't even fully set up everything I wanted to, or basically have it already pre-planned on my screen. I want to sort of walk you through exactly what it is, how I go about when I sit down at the desk in the morning, how I really look into what's going on in the markets, and then do some TA on a number of coins. So go ahead right now, type in where you're from, and in the same message also type in two altcoins. Everybody type in two of the, not Bitcoin, not Ethereum, two other altcoins that you hold that are larger percentage of in your portfolio. And I'm going to try and go down and do some TA on all these, and also see, because all these, as I've said in many streams before, all these assets work in context with each other and also with the broader market. So if we're at this critical juncture right now for Bitcoin, we also have other signals, key sort of data points that we can look at, from total market caps to what's going on with the dollar index to what's going on with the broader traditional markets. And all these things are going to tie into each other. All of these things, it's not just Bitcoin. There's a critical juncture in the market as a whole that the whole market is trying to decide, are we going to be pushing up and having some bull sort of pressure going into this first quarter into quarter two, hopefully all the way through quarter one into quarter two of 2023? Or is this just a little bit of a fake out, a bull trap, and we're going to come back down? Either way, there's things that we can look at. And there's ways that we can use this market price action, if we understand it, to be profitable and to navigate this market in a way that's meaningful for your portfolios. So welcome, everybody. It is January 24th, 2023. I'm here in Atlanta with you. I'll be here for the whole month, so I'll be here in this studio. But we're doing some fun things to improve this channel. I'm also here, hint, hint, I'm here in Atlanta because we're doing a ton of stuff to improve everything going on at BitLab Academy. So let's go ahead and jump on into the charts here. And again, welcome everybody, wherever you are, wherever you're from. Thank you for tuning in. So we are going to jump in here. So what I want first to call out is make sure you head over to bitlabacademy.com. If you haven't yet, definitely check out what we're doing over there. We have a ton of new courses coming. That's what I'm here in Atlanta for. We're filming so much stuff, and we're getting that all tied up and set so that we can really start sharing those updates with the community. 200 plus new lessons we're working on will be rolled out over the course of this whole year. But as you can see right here, The reason I'm pulling this up, we see we got 5 winners. So there's free lifetime membership, 2 Academy courses that people are going to win by signing up to this newsletter that we're doing. Every week I share charts, I share thoughts on the market, I share some coupon codes for, discounts for this stuff. But make sure you sign up for this, because it is this week I'm going to be calling out the winners for these this free lifetime membership to Academy courses. So go to bitlabacademy.com and sign up for this newsletter if you haven't yet. You're not only going to get the newsletter, you also get entered to win some great stuff here from BitLab Academy. And of course, you can also check out the indicator link here if you want to get in with the incredible indicators, which I'm going to be breaking down in a lot more detail with some more videos very soon. I just really wanted to get you all so much information, a basic sort of starting point that we can always refer back to these other videos, the TA videos, how to set up your trading view videos, templates, and understanding that, how to understand what's going on and reading certain signals in the market. All these videos, if you feel lost at any point, go to the playlist page on our YouTube. We're going to go to it right here. YouTube, boom. And we're going to go to BitLab, at BitLab Academy. You see here, if you come over here to live, there's all these videos, and I'm going to separate these actually into course sort of content, but all these, it's a great base layer so you can really understand what's going on. And you can see here, you can see here that there's a number of different videos that you can always refer back to at any point. And I'm going to try my best throughout as we do this different TA and stuff that's more relevant to what's going on in the market in that day. I'm still going to try and, as I said, do some lesson portions towards the middle of each video so that we can make sure we're bringing the beginners along with us, because this is all about spreading information, spreading knowledge, and really embarking on everybody being confident to navigate these markets, because this is the best opportunity of our lifetimes. So I wanted to go to the page, and I want to just shout out BitBoy Crypto, Around the Blockchain, Frankie Candles, the Blockchain Basement, if you haven't checked that out yet. And then, of course, Hit Network. If you haven't checked this out, definitely check it out. We restream all the different content that we have on all of our channels, basically 24/7 crypto content there. But let's jump into these charts and see what's doing. First, how's everybody doing today? How you feeling? Are you bullish or bearish on this market right now? Do you feel like we're going to meet these resistance points that we're at? We're going to outline those here in a second. Do you feel like we're going to have a rejection and another opportunity for a lower price? Type that in here on the right, and then yeah, let's go ahead and continue on with this. Make sure you're following me at Kelly Kellum here, and you can also, of course, see that on my lower third when that comes up. And then make sure you're following, please make sure you're following all of these different socials that are here on the bottom. Make sure you're following everything going on with BitLab Academy. This is all about community. This isn't about me making money. This is about me teaching you what I've done to make money so that you can be confident in these markets. So this is community, baby. Let's do it. So what do I do when I come to the computer every morning? And make no lie, this is every morning. I don't care if I'm on vacation for my grandfather's 100th birthday gathering where everybody came out to Hawaii. Doesn't matter if I'm sick in bed. Every morning I am involved in these markets. And what I do is I methodically kind of go through, and there's a couple different tools I use. I've talked about them before in the tools video. Tools every trader needs. But I come to newsnow.com, which you can see up here, and I go to the crypto section right here. Turn off this ad. And this gives me just a general rundown about everything going with the crypto. Okay, we're not going to break all this down. There's a whole video on that, but I definitely always come to the Bitcoin section just to get go to latest news, see if there's anything there. I go to top stories, see if there's something that maybe I missed while I was sleeping, because we can't be in the charts all the time, right? And then I come over to crypto Twitter, which is just Twitter. I follow a bunch of crypto people. It's essentially crypto Twitter. And I kind of go through my notifications here. And as you can see, I hope everybody does this. I have notifications set up for basically the people that I follow that have great info on what's going on in the market. And just so you know, all you have to do that is when you go to their page, ting this little bell, and you can turn a notification on or off and so you get notified when specific people post charts. So here we're looking at everything going on, and I follow, as you can see, not only crypto, but I follow stuff on traditional markets as well. And so what we're doing right now, January 24th, 2023, and you can do this at any time, you can do this every day in the market, is you want to get a general lay of the land. Not strategizing is the same as planning to fail. So taking some time before you just jump into a trade is of utmost critical importance for you to be a profitable trader over time with any consistency. You need to have a lay of the land of not only what the data says, but even going through crypto Twitter, what you're actually also gaining with this is you're getting a bit of an actual direct sentiment sort of analysis rather than just looking at the fear and greed index, rather than looking, and we'll go over this in a second, just looking at what on the CME group, what the sort of traders are betting on, what the price, what the basis, what the rate hike's going to be, looking at news. But on crypto Twitter, you're seeing active voices of people that are actively participating in the markets, both stock markets, traditional markets, crypto, and you get a sort of dichotomy of where the sentiment is, and then you can actually look at the other data points also that you want to, for instance, looking at the coinglass.com, looking at the long short ratio, all this sort of stuff. But looking through all the data that we have here, what I'm seeing is these massive numbers, minus 10,000. These are layoffs in traditional markets and tech sector. Microsoft, 10,000 laid off. Excuse me. Google, 12,000 laid off. CRM, which I believe is Salesforce, Amazon, minus 18,000. Facebook, Meta, minus 11,000. I'll never think of Facebook as Meta. It's always Facebook in my head. Spot. I'm not sure which company Spot is, but my point here is we have a huge number of people being laid off. And so we had a great conversation yesterday on Blockchain Basement about this. And why is this important when we're thinking about crypto and Bitcoin, everything that's happening right now? Well, when we think about what's happening with how bad inflation's been and this argument about whether or not we're in a recession, we're trying to identify with every trade we do, with every, even more so with an investment we do, where the probabilities are for where the market's going to move from here. And so when we see a small push up in price action, okay, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to zoom this in. I'm going to actually turn, I'm going to go to just traditional so we can see the green and red candlestick. We see this push up here. We're arguing if whether or not within ourselves, not necessarily with each other, but the argument always has to be within yourself. Is this going to continue up or is this going to be rejected back down? So when I'm looking at this price action and in the morning I come to my screen and I see that we're having a large amount of layoffs, we need to understand, what does this mean? Is this happening in the broader market as well? Are we seeing massive layoffs? So, and this was a discussion we had on Blockchain Basement yesterday. Now, this could be a very good thing for the markets, at least in the short term, for Google, Amazon, these other tech sector companies laying off people, because they're trimming a lot of the fat. They're trimming a lot of excessiveness within their institutions, within their corporations. And we've actually seen some positive sort of price response in those assets because that means that there's going to be less of an expenditure for staff, right? However, if this starts expanding into the broader market, which we actually have started to see with Goldman Sachs and some quite a few other banking and investments companies, if we start seeing it in blue collar sort of everyday man sort of sections of the market, then this is when the forecast becomes more grim for what's happening with the recession and, towards the end of this quarter two, because that means if there's less people working, not just in tech, but in everyday banking, as well as the middle class sort of job sectors, then if less people are working, that means there's less confidence in the market, because there's going to be less liquidity to buy into assets, and especially risk assets. So seeing this just by scrolling for a brief second through my crypto Twitter and seeing just some general sort of idea of what's going on, now we can go into, and this is a question right here. See, this is another thing. We got the Dixie, which is the dollar index, and there's so much that we're going to be diving into here. But I'm just going to take a break for just a second. Shout out everybody in chat. I do want to focus on making these live streams more community focused, more about all you people in here that are tuning in on a daily basis. Elliot Locke, Crimson Caravan Company, Brad Guydell, Alex Green, Granny's Garden, what's up? Jeanette, we got so many people. I saw Investor Bros in here earlier as well. I don't know if it was Tim or T Shroom. Matt C, so many people in here. Shout out to everybody that's tuned in. It's great to see you in here. It's great to be building this community. I love seeing this active sort of chat as I'm moving along here. It's so great to be doing this. So I see King Peasant says, talk about what Caleb is saying there on the screen. Okay, so yeah, this is, morning shakeout, pseudo pump, exit liquidity. So this is actually, I didn't even see this tweet until you just pointed that out. This is actually exactly what I wanted to highlight here, because it actually touches a bit on what we talked about yesterday in the video, in the lesson, in the live stream that was discussing essentially bull traps and bear traps. So essentially, honestly, with every single move that you see in the market, you don't want to just wait for a large stick to start asking about the health of that move. Every move that happens in the market, you want to build a strategy that helps you have a 1, 2, 3, 4 sort of signal base that you look for things that are in full agreement or utter confusion. Because I'm going to bring this up on a second page there so we can save it. But I want to point this out. I did a poll yesterday. I did a poll yesterday or 2 days ago. And it is right here. Look at this. I asked everybody, what's your thoughts for Bitcoin price at the ending of Q1 in 2023? So that would be around the end of March. And look at this even split. If this doesn't say indecision in the market, I don't know what does. $16,000 to $20,000, 23%, which is basically just under a quarter. $21,000 to $25,000, 25%, which is basically exactly a quarter. $25,000 to $30,000, 31%, and $35,000 plus. Even with that, which would be a very aggressive move. None of these are impossible. All of these not only are equally possible, but the community sentiment, and this was just shy of 1,000 people voting on this, this shows that there's a lot of indecision in the market. So what does that tell me about this move right here? What does indecision in the market mean when we're looking at this bullish price action right here? This goes back to exactly what Caleb just pointed out about the pump pullback. So as Tim Warren has pointed out a number of times, when the retail misses a boat, we miss the boat. When institutions and large players miss a boat, I'm going to throw this back up right. Where are we at? My deepest apologies there. So what I was pointing out here, just to rewind for a second, is this was a poll that I had put up. And as you can see, even across all frames. I apologize about that. It's hard to do the production as a one-man band with the multiple screens and stuff here. So thank you for your patience there. All of these levels are equal. So what does that tell me about what's happening right now? So if we have everything in this game, everything about trading and doing it profitably and investing is a game, it's a numbers game. It's probabilities. And so what we want to look for is volume coming in and momentum increasing, because things either accelerate or decelerate. They either grow or die. It's a very yin yang in these markets. And so as we've talked about a number of times, this increasing candle size on these, this is the most basic indicator there is. This increasing candle size of green on this Bitcoin chart shows that there's an increase in momentum to the upside. And the second we see this sort of the momentum shift, that's when there's weakness in the market. But on the same in the same frame here, as we see this bullish sort of momentum to the upside, when we look at the sentiment of the market and everybody is equally thinking it could go down or it could go up, there's not a huge weight one way or the other, a very split decision, very indecisive. Then we can also see that when we look at this, that means that there's an indecision and there could be a potential lack of follow through here, because the market, there's not clarity. Now, there's a bit of a caveat there, because if everybody was bearish, then you need to utilize the knowledge of everyone being bearish by then going over to, and I've shared this before on the tools and tricks video, going over to coinglass.com. We can, and I want you to make it a habit of doing this just so you can familiarize yourself with these tools. This is a free website, and you get open interest, you get what's going on with grayscale, funding rate, liquidations, long versus shorts. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to long versus short, and I want you to notice every time you pull up any chart, any graph, what do? We look at all the data available, and we try to understand what points that we can manipulate so we can change it to what is, in this case, if you just look at this, you're not getting a lot of information because this is on a 5-minute chart. So let's go over to a 4-hour chart, and we can start seeing the oscillations of the ratio of people going long versus people going short. When you get a disjointed sort of level and you get a lot of people going short, then what happens is you look at that data and you start coming over here, you look at funding rate, and you can start notice that when the funding rate and the long versus short ratio, meaning people that are placing trades for longs or placing shorts, placing puts for downside action, when you get something that's very disjointed, not middle of the road, not even, I think it's fairly even right now. Let's look at this again. We're going to come back to 4 hours. And so there are more shorts, and this is very minimally more, but it's there are more shorts. But when we start seeing something like, look at this. This was 54% long and only 45% shorts. When we start seeing this disjointedness, what happens is when we look at the price action right here, where we get this cascading sort of liquidations as well as FOMO coming in, what that means is we're getting too many shorts. The price gets pushed just above that sort of price action, and then these shorts, which are betting for downside action, that's what shorts are. They're betting to make money coming down. When you get too many shorts coming in and a brewing sort of base, and we've talked about the bullish divergences many times on this channel, but I'm just going to re-emphasize it here. When you get bullish divergence on RSI or volume or money flow, while price is going flat or down, while you have an increase in pressure on RSI, then then you get a market maker or just some positive news that pushes past whatever level there's a bunch of liquidation points on. Then all those shorts have to close, and there's higher and higher stop losses as well as liquidation points that then just cascade this up. And then what we're trying to do right now is identify, is there fuel? Is there positive sentiment? Is there any signal suggesting, because there's some looming bearishness on the horizon, is there anything that's signaling that we're going to get more of a push to the upside? So that's what we're going to tackle right now. And shout out again to everybody in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. I didn't see, I'm actually going to scroll back here. I didn't see where people said if they were long or short, but I'm going to zoom back there in a little bit, and we're going to be addressing that. So what we're seeing right here, let's go ahead and pull up. I'm going to start with our BitLab indicators, because these are the ones I use most often. And then we'll also show some traditional indicators when we're looking at the alts. So we had, look at this. So right here, before this move went up, I'm going to move this. These R and H's on the bottom. This is a regular bullish divergence. This is a hidden bullish divergence, but we see we're having these bullish divergences brewing. And then after that is when we get this large push to the upside. Same thing happened right here before all this whole move started. So we're having sort of indecision with bullish divergences and bearish divergences. And this is just using volume. And as we're having this back and forth, look at this chop sideways. Now, once the bearish divergences stopped forming and it was just bullish divergences, this chop started to have less pressure on the bearish side of it, and this bull pressure started to leak through. We're getting a push up, trying to get a pullback. The bull's trying to win, and then we get another bullish divergence, and we get a bullish divergence on the, I think this is money flow with the M here. And we get bullish divergence on the volume, and this is pushing to the upside. So where we're at right now, I'm going to bring down this RGVI, which is a relative volatility sort of gauge. And what we're going to do here is we're going to, what do we always talk about? 3-cycle strategy, the macro, the midterm, and the micro. So where we're at right here, we know what the macro is because we look at it every day. And I want you to just remind yourself every time you come in the charts with, this is our macro, we're in a macro downturn, and this is what we need to focus on. We are fighting to prove that we are out and we have flipped this resistance to support. So with that being said, just by nature of how we prove it, how do we prove flipping resistance to support? Well, you can always refer back to this. You can download it or just visit my Twitter to see it. We always have to do this. We have to break through the resistance, come back and test it, and then that's testing this without falling through it or maybe wicking through it, which there's always fake outs, but coming back and breaking this high, that's what we want to do for a full confirmation. So what we're doing right here is now we looked at the macro, we're look at the midterm, we're on the daily. So we really want to see for a healthy move in this market, this sort of come back. And just so you all know, this move, which would be this move, which would be a 6% move to the downside, is actually the healthiest thing that could happen right now. So I want everybody to remember every price action being pulled back doesn't mean the market's crashing, it's done, oh my God. So when you see the price action come from $23,029 down to $21,500, that's, a $1,500 drop. But understanding this market means that you're not going to be fearful and you're not going to trade irrationally, because this pulling back, this $1,500 loss, yes, it's $1,500, but it's $1,500 out of $23,000, okay? And this is a critical resistance line that we've pushed through, which very well could be a bull trap. So we want to see whether the price action continues up, to this level up here in the $24,000, $25,000 region and then gets rejected, or here and pulls back. What we want to do is we want this to correct at some point. So we take, more than anything, I'm going to hide that. I'm going to hide, where is it? I don't know where it is. I don't know where I renamed it. Oh, here we are, bull possibility. So what we want to see here is we want to see price action for a healthy move. We want to see price action take essentially, we want it to take a move up. We want it to have a pullback, and we want it to continue up and pull back and continue up. It's essentially very reminiscent of this right here. As you can see, we push up, pull back. We're testing this. We're forming a support line for the bullish movement, but we're also finding once this is established, it gives us every opportunity to capitalize on profits in this bullish trend. Same thing as when we get a bearish trend. Once we establish this downtrend, and we have at least 2, if not 3 points of confirming this resistance, in this case, confirming this support, then we can utilize that. Every time we reach that level on a downtrend, we can short that area and come down. And then once it starts to reverse back, we take profits, short that level, come down. Once it starts to reverse back, take profits. And you can set your targets on all of this through Fibonacci's, and we've broken all this down, and we'll be breaking it down more. But in this case, we're trying to define that we have actually confirmed an uptrend, which we haven't. Because the reason why I'm bringing these two things up, because everybody's talking about the bullish price action, but in reality, we very well could be right here, which is why there's a lot of price interactivity with this right here, where there's shorts being taken because we reached that downtrend, because there's still a lot of bears in this market that are identifying that there's a high likelihood, or there is a relative likelihood that we very well could reverse back down and come. I mean, if looking at this in a realistic way, there is a possibility that the price action, I'm going to silence the market intelligence indicators there. There's a real possibility that the market could reverse down and break all the way down here to this 13,000 level. We've heard people like Crypto Savvy. We've heard, I mean, there's a number of people, Gareth Soloway, looking for levels in the $9,000 to $12,000 range. And I'm not saying they're wrong by any means. I am actually taking all of that sort of stuff into consideration because I see those levels as well. I see this, golden pocket area that was previous golden pocket from the previous bull run, which is right straddling that 13,000 level. This high from June 2019. Which was a midterm rally right there, right in the middle of that previous golden pocket. Huge amount of support from this trend line here that we've been in for, going on 2 years now. Okay. There's a lot of veracity to the potential of us coming down. So what I'm doing right now is I'm playing this market like we are in this accumulation zone, but I'm doing it with risk management. So what do I mean by that? Well, I mean by that is I've found entries all in these sort of basically from sub 18, anything sub 18, I was finding entries and I was DCAing in. I was reallocating my capital that I had taken profits on from before. And I've, not only on Bitcoin, I'm talking a number of different coins, some altcoins, very strategically setting up my portfolio for the bull run. But what I'm doing is I'm looking at this market, that we looked at the midterm, and what did I say? 3 market strategy, okay? 3 cycle strategy, the macro, the midterm, and then the local or the micro. So let's go down into the 4-hour. I'm going to put this on auto. And so we can see the first thing I see when I notice this is how big this sort of pole is here. And then how much smaller this momentum is here. So, I mean, these are 2 very different. I can notice right there, this was the first one, this is the second. There's a hell of a lot less momentum coming into this one. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to absolutely roll over. But what I'm noticing, or what I love to notice anytime I look at charts, is what's the momentum looking like? Is the momentum increasing, giving me more confidence in a move, or is there signals and signs that the momentum is shrinking? Well, why is this momentum shrinking? Well, we've got this sort of key level right here. We've got this whole region from these levels here as well, as this previous top, this local top right here. And this is really critical. This essentially $25,000. It's right on that level. It's very critical that once we break above here, that we find support somewhere in this region here and continue the upside. If we don't, that doesn't necessarily ring complete bearishness for the bulls. It gives less weight to the bull. It gives less weight to the bulls. It doesn't mean the bears are going to take us all the way back down, because this whole game of trading and understanding price action in charts is seeing where that battle is, where we are on the battlefield. Because the bulls are going to be, for instance, right here, the bulls have been pushing up, but their stamina is exhausted. Now they try to make another push. And so the fact that they're sort of their momentum is shrinking here. We want to, and we're also seeing, look at that. We had an increase in volume, as you can see down here on the bottom of my chart with this moving average. We're seeing the price action go up and volume has gone flat here. So that's also giving me further indication that we need to be paying attention to what are our targets when this pulls back. Well, what do we do when we're trying to find our targets when it pulls back? Well, we can identify these sort of levels. We have this region right here with a lot of interactivity. So we see, and that's the 20,000, basically 20,000 to 20,500, this region here. And we can also pull up our fib, which you can click here on the left. If you don't see it, go just to the right of the third tool down. You'll see a little arrow, and you can select fib retracement. If you put a star on it, and it's only when starred, it'll stay here. But remember, you can also do Option if you're on Mac, or Alt if you're on computer, F, and that brings up your fib immediately. And we drag from the bottom right here to this level right here. So we see, and this level is the top of this local move. And that gives us a zone between 18,700 and 19,000. So what we can do, what we always want to do is we want to map this out onto the chart. And I'm going to do this one quickly so then we can look at some alts. So this is a likely level to pull back to, and we want to hold. If we come back to this level, we want to hold because if we don't, then we're flirting with, we're getting really 50-50 on the bullish bearish scenario because we're potentially triple bottoming. And after all this this fear in the market, we want to maintain as much bullish sort of sentiment as we can, because otherwise we potentially get cascading sort of long squeeze and then cascade to new lows, which I don't personally want to see. I'd rather trudge forward with this 4-year cycle and start forming that base sideways action that I think the market is really hoping for, but we have to look at this in context. The other fib I want to draw is actually from this low right here up to this level right here, and we can see this line, which is this previous local top right here. We have this red line coming through, and this is perfectly in line. That's the golden retrace from this level. So I'm really watching this entire region right through here from 20,000 up to 21,500. This entire region, any point in this region, I still mark as incredibly healthy pullback, actually bullish pullback. If we pull back and find support in anywhere in this region, I'm very bullish on next, the next week or so. If this were to happen in the next couple of days, it'd be excellent. If we were to pull back to this level, which is 18,000, anywhere from let's say 19,000 to 19,600. I'd really like this 19,600 to hold, but I'm still fairly bullish if we hold this level here. Once we break below this level here, which is the 18,800 to 19,000, this golden pocket of this whole move. Once we break below this, then I'm going to be entertaining much tighter stop losses. I'm going to be a little more indifferent to, I'm not going to be taking scalp trades. I'm going to be actually identifying any of these levels down here for actually long entries with tight stop losses in case it does go, because then the battlefield becomes a lot more equal between the bulls and the bears. And so I am going to be finding entries, but with stops in mind. And I won't be playing leverage at these levels once we break back below this, because this is an undefined trend, and the trend is your friend. The trend is your friend when you're especially if you're ever trading leverage. And I do not recommend people trade leverage unless you have a defined trading strategy. If you have defined action plan for stop losses, if you know how to take a loss and not go in kamikaze trade, just doubling down, trying to win your money back, having an action plan in place and using leverage is actually incredibly productive in your workflow, in your trading. But if you don't have a strategy in place and you're a new trader, I definitely don't recommend it. Spot is everything, especially at these low levels. So do that. That's all I'm going to say. But I want to go through a couple of the different altcoins that you guys all posted. I'm going to scroll back here if I can see some of them. Okay, we see Atom, we see Algo, we see Matic, we see AVAX. I see quite a bit of algos. So let's do algo. Let's go ahead and jump on algo real quick. We're going to come over here. I'm going to type in ALGO, and that's for anybody that's not aware, that's for Algorand. And I'm going to go to Binance USDT. I think it has a larger history than Coinbase. So, okay, so what are we doing here? We see a large push up. And what are we trying to do with this entire stream, with every stream really? We're trying to figure out what our process is. In today's stream, we're trying to identify this bullish action as we see right here, rejection. Is this going to be rejected? How do we map this out? Well, we looked at the context. We know also, I wanted to point out, I forgot to do this because I was so excited about the charts. We got the FOMC meeting coming up next week, I believe on the 1st. And I just want to bring this up before we continue with algo. There is there's a huge, basically, the bet for the Fed, the interest rate hike. Sorry, my brain fog there. Is 99% of people out there think that we're going to get another 25 basis points hike, which would bring us to basically 4.5%. Up to 4.75%, and that's if we were to get higher than the 25 basis points. But the large majority of people out there believe, because of what's going on with the CPI, with the PCE, with inflation, all the data that came in last week, and over the course of the last basically the start of the year, that the Fed is going to start softening its stance a little bit, and so next week we have to. This goes back to what Caleb said. Not only this morning shakeout, the institutions bring it back, or they they give themselves great options, great entry points. So the question right here is, we have the Fed coming up next week, and this happens every day in the morning as well. You want to see where the market is being pushed to. Is the market being pushed there for institutions to have higher price points to short from? Is the market being pushed down so institutions or market makers have lower points to get as low of a price point as possible to really capitalize on the entire move that they can on a bull trend? For instance, right here we see these massive wicks down. So of course there's probably some shorts there, but there's also institutional market pushing down so people could get the low prices all the way to move back up. So what we're looking for here, is this a push up? Is this a market maker sort of endeavor to signal to retail to get a little bit of a hype going in, so you get prices pushed up, you get shorts liquidated, you get this higher point to then short to push down further? That's what we want to. That's what we want to think about anytime we see a market move. We don't want to jump in just because there's green candles. It could be them trying to get you to FOMO so that then they could take advantage of you and move the market in the opposite direction, and then you capitulate because you're scared, and then they can buy lower. Meaning they got the market to go up, they got hype to come in for you to take along. And for you to take along, that means they have liquidity to short the market and then come down. And as you get scared because it's dropping, you don't want to lose anymore, then you capitulate, meaning you sell. Capitulating is selling your asset in fear. You're getting out of that asset, and now it's at a lower price point, and now they have liquidity for you selling. Now they have somebody that they can buy from at a lower point. So they made money on you going up, and they made money on you going down. That's what we need to understand in this market. It is a dog eat dog business unless you understand the probabilities and the likelihoods of what's happening with each market movement. You can have a calculated plan to take advantage of this. So looking at algo, we're going to map this out really quick. And if you haven't yet, go over to BitLab Academy YouTube and come down to these the live streams. You can go on live here, and you can come over to the TA tips and also the tools chart, the tools stream here, and Chart Like a Pro. This gives you so much breakdown on how to really navigate and what you're doing on these charts, understanding TA, but also how to use these tools. So I'm going to move through this rather quickly. If I were to be charting this to figure out what's going on here, I'm going to do Option J, and I'm doing this basically on these tops here. Now we see this is a very interesting point here, so I'm going to use my rectangle box right through here. This is very critical. I'm going to do Option J, and now we can see there's actually a zone here, which is very similar in these levels. And then also this looks like a fairly endeavored price action level here. So now we have a simple map of likely price action points based on previous highs and lows. And now we're going to do Option F, come from the top here all the way to the bottom. Now we're going to do Option F from this top here to the bottom here. And we're going to do, okay, so what we're looking at here. All right, so we're going to zoom into this. Now I'm going to double click on the screen. Okay, let's go to the, okay, MACD. We're looking at the weekly. We're looking at our macro. So now we can do our trend lines. We have our map out. So we're going to do Option T. But you see how I methodically go through each one of these. Now this is, I'm going to do 2 different lines here because this wick doesn't really touch anything through here, but I'll leave it. Option T for another trend line. We're going to go from this point here. Okay, so you see you see when we're looking at this, we can see that there is touch point, rejection, now support. So it looks like, you know, the sentiment started shifting there. It's finding support, resistance, and we broke through this, and we have this point here. I'm going to do one more trend line, and it's going to go from right here, and yeah. Now, the reason I'm doing multiple trend lines is because there's a couple different points of interest that is touching multiple candles. And we can see right through here, if I zoom out, this is, I believe, yeah, this is the 382. So we're finding a little bit of resistance, not only at the 382, but look at where this 382 Fibonacci retracement tool shows. This marking right here is also basically the low, previous price action lows, right in through here. And that's right in line with that. So this is actually fairly important, even though it's only a 382. 382s, 618s, which is the golden pocket, and the 786. These are kind of my bread and butter Fibonacci levels that I like to look for price action. But what we want to see here is what's going on. This was same thing yesterday. I didn't change it, I guess. Stochastics. We're going to see stochastics. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to type in vol. If you haven't done this, or if you ever want to set up your chart in the Chart Like a Boss or Chart Like a Pro video, I teach you this. But what you can do is you can pull up all of the different indicators that you use on a regular basis, and then come up here once they're all on your screen, press this 4 square thing here, and I'm going to save this as, let's see, Mac RSI. Save. Actually, let me see here. Mac RSI Stoke. Okay. Save, replace. There. Now I won't have to set this back each time. So what we're looking for here is, we know that most alts are sort of governed, especially towards the end of a cycle, by what's happening with Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is large in part tied in with the global socioeconomic, traditional markets, monetary policy. It's wrapped in all of that, just like large traditional assets now, because there's so many institutional players, and it's a good gauge of risk on, risk off mentality. And so Bitcoin, if Bitcoin's starting to have liquidity come into it, especially towards the end of a bear cycle, which I believe we're in now, we want to see, when we see this, you know, for instance, algo right here, there's the bullish divergences that we had on Bitcoin. We want to know right now where we're at here, what's happening with this price action, where are our targets, what's going on. Well, we can see, looking here on the weekly, there's a little uptick in volume, but let's come down to our midterm. Let's come down to the daily. Okay, so what I'm seeing here immediately is the stochastics sort of signal to move right here as it crossed, as well as RSI being fully on the bottom, meaning we had a lot of room to run. There was a bit of weakness. The market was oversold at these levels, being below this 30 line here. But what we want to do is we want to mark a line on our RSI. I'm going to do that there. I'm going to make this red. Actually, I'm going to make it blue so it's very easy to see. I like this right on the 50 line because inherently below it is bearish, inherently above it is bullish. And so what we've done here, and this is very healthy, this is what we want to see. We saw price action being very oversold, and the RSI is pushed up here. I don't know if you can see the line, so let's go ahead and double click on it. Now I'm going to make this very, very bright. There we go. This pushed back. This got very overbought because this is up here in the very top of this range, but it came back, and look at that. It tested the 50 line. It tested, is it going to be bearish or not? No, this is healthy is what that's saying. But what we're really looking for here is, you see this is starting to roll over on the RSI. If this were to roll over and basically form a form like this, if this were to roll over and start coming down, then what we'd be looking for there is we potentially could be having a bearish RSI divergence forming. So we can be aware of this before it happens and start seeing that there's a potential weakness. And how do I know it'd be bearish RSI forming? Well, we see the price here is now higher. This is a higher high, and unless the RSI starts pushing up, we're essentially setting up for bearish RSI divergence, meaning the highs on the RSI are lower than this. This is actually a higher high. This is a lower high. Now, similarly, we can also see that on the stochastic. So this is also signaling on this on Algorand on the daily. We could even come down on the 4 hour. We can see that. So these stochastics are forming lower and lower highs. This is forming, so this is signaling to me some weakness in the market. This is signaling a likely pullback. Now, we don't have to figure out where it's going to pull back to, because what we do first, we went to the chart and we mapped out all the levels. Before we tried to figure out, like, I wanted to go here. No, screw that. What is the chart telling you? What is the chart saying to you based on previous price levels? Because price far more often than not will have interaction, a pause, or a massive breakthrough, less often, but it will have a pause at previous interacted price levels where price action, look at this, all this support, okay, broke through, but rejection. Okay, right now we're having trouble getting through that because all of this is proven to be. Now, why is that? Why does price action govern so much what happens with, why does past price action govern so much of what happens with future price action? Well, past price action governs that because what happens is other people are also in this market. It's not just you trading. It's not just you investing. Other people are trying to figure out how they can navigate this market, and they can see just based on clear principles of price action and where previous support was in this trend here, is a good spot to take profit if price were to reach up to that level. And there's a lot of confluence. It's a good spot to take profit, typically because other people are going to be taking profit at those levels as well. And what happens if the rejection, there's a lot of interactivity based on past price action because of sort of game theory, because of the larger market at large, also trading on a lot of the same skills and strategies that you are. So you want to take note of that. But at the same time, note that these levels, if they are broken, can then flip to support. So it works on both sides of the aisle there. So you really want to, when you first come to a chart, 3 cycle theory, macro, midterm, micro, or local. Some people call it a local. Map out your key levels, then break down to the smaller time frame, and then look for your indicator signals. Now we can also do the same thing, looking at what's happening with the BitLab trading suite. Now, all of these, for anybody that doesn't know, these are all marking various bearish or bullish divergences when it's on the bottom of the price action, and bearish divergences when it's on the top. Now, if I double click on the indicator itself, let me go over here. If I double click on the indicator itself, I can actually bring up, rather than shorthand, you can see what divergences it's seeing. So this right here, we're seeing, without having to do all the stuff I was doing before, you can just pull up this indicator series that we have over at bitlabacademy.com. Just go over to indicators, and you can see that there is a MACD bearish divergence. There's volume divergence, and there's also the hidden volume divergence. Now, in addition to all that, we can see these signals right here. The significant movement is basically, it's reading a number of the other metrics, like stochastics and RSI and money flow, and showing that things that are in very, very sort of overbought signals. So it's basically very at the very top of those, and all of them are. And not only that, it's looking historically on. Hold on a second. Somebody's calling my phone. But this is showing that multiple different signals are showing that there is multiple different signals are showing that it's very overbought, and it's likely a local trend top. And we're seeing all these divergences in addition to this price action. So with all these things lining up, what you're trying to do is you're trying to find confluence between multiple signals saying price is going to go one way or the other. And in this case, it's signaling that it's very likely that this is getting overheated, and it's good to either, if you had it long, if you anything like that, this is not financial advice, but if you had it long, this is when you start trying to identify taking some profits or setting up your charts for this actual retest of this region here, and then potentially targets down here to this line here. Now we've got about 5 minutes left, so we're gonna do one more. We're gonna do one more coin here. Let's do what else did we see on here? We had a bunch of different coins that people were people said Atom also, so let's do Atom, which is boom. Let's also do Binance. Let's not do perp. When you see that, that's for the futures. If you are trading with leverage, it's always important to have at least 2 different charts up. Have one that's a spot price like Bitstamp or something like that, with very honest sort of volume on the spot price action, but then also have the chart of the exchange that you're trading and the asset pair. So if you're doing USDT spot on Binance, do that chart. If you're doing leverage on Binance, then do the perp futures. So in this case, we're not going to do that one. I just said I wanted to do Atom. Actually, I have it all here on the right. We can zoom down here. Where is my Atom? There we go. So, okay, let's just do Coinbase here. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn off and double click, and we're going to go to our macro, midterm, micro. We're going to do this very quick. So I see a lot of interactivity right here, all through here. And we got top option J. We're going to kind of do a region right here too, because this looks like very clear sort of support, resistance. And then of course, look at this massive region of just sort of indecision right in through here. So we kind of have our levels. I'm going to make this a little bit just like that. And now look at this price action bounced here, previous price action highs, finding support, rejected here, previous price action lows. Now we want to do our trend line. Let's do a trend line through here. We broke through that, so that's interesting. Is there another trend line? Let's also always try to find at least 2 trend lines. Look at that. Look at that. Boom, 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 boom. We're finding resistance right there. So now let's do option F or Alt F if you're on a PC. Let's get our levels for our fib retracements. We have that level. Now we got this level right here. You see at the 1655. We're going to pull that down. Look at that from this top right here, from this top at $16.55 to this bottom here, and look exactly where price action is right now. It's right. This is why the fibs are so important. So what I'd be looking for here is we see some price action there with the previous lows. I'd be looking for a little bit of a retrace here at the 382, the $11.68 for a target, either to take profits there and then re-enter at this lower level, or take profits here and reassess what's happening with all your information on the charts. It's seeing if there's a bullish sentiment coming in when we do retrace here. But yeah, my sort of target levels for a dream buy would be anything in the $8 range. But I'd be starting to look for targets once we reject here. If we do reject here at the levels $11.72, also in that region, anywhere from $11 to $11.72. And if we do push up, as soon as we push up from here, we see we have a massive sort of resistance zone right here, not only the 786, but previous price action. So there's a lot of hurdles above us, and I think a lot of opportunities to do our charts, do our metrics, look at everything going on, try to identify the different signals that we're looking at so that we can find the best entries, so we can be set up for everything going on in this market going in to the next major bull run. So that's all I got for you today. I really appreciate, love, and respect all of you being here, this community. Positive, encouraging, love it so much. I really appreciate you all. I will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. Ting the bell. Share these streams with your friends. Share the playlist with all those basics. Let new people coming in, if they have frustration, trying to help everybody, no matter the stage you are, whether you're a pro or a beginner. We're trying to do it all here and have a wonderful community of everybody doing this together. So that's all I got for you today. Have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. We're going to go head over to BitBoy Crypto now, check out the news of the day, and shout out to everybody over at Hit Network. If you haven't, follow all these socials down here. Make sure to, follow me on Twitter, and I will see you tomorrow. Adios, muchachos. Thank you for watching the stream. Thank you for being a friend. Adios, muchachos.